How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about some of these numbers linked to the coronavirus that don't make any sense at all. But then again, they do make perfect sense when you zoom out and see why the numbers are the way they are. First of all, let's talk about some of the reported case deaths from country to country. The U.S. has by far and away the most reported cases of the virus with 677,000. Now, that is really high when you look at the next highest country in Spain that has about 188,000 cases. Now, I understand we're a larger country. Obviously, we got about 325 million people minimum, and Spain has about 45 million people. So population size may determine the amount of cases you have. All right. If you were to have Spain multiplied by a few times, it would be a higher number due to having more people. That just kind of makes sense. But then once you kind of go down the list here and look at China, they have 82,000 cases. How can that be so when China has 1.3 billion with a B people? How does it make any sense? And then they said they only got about 4,600 deaths compared to our 34,000, almost 35,000 deaths. It doesn't make any sense, especially since China was the epicenter of the China virus right there in Wuhan. Wuhan and the metro area, the Hubei province, is like 50 million people. Okay, that's larger population wise than the state of California and Virginia and probably two other states combined. So this is not a small place population wise. Geographically, it's not humongous, but population wise is big, and China population wise is big in general. 1.3 billion people. Take away the 0.3, you still got a billion left, and the 0.3 is the entirety of the USA. So the numbers are kind of strange. What's going on? Well, there's a few things happening, and I'll explain that right now. First of all, we all know China's a liar. We know they'll tell you whatever they want you to know. They'll give you any kind of BS. They don't really care about being honest. They don't care about being ethical. They don't care about anything like that, because we know now that they were covering the whole virus up right when it was going on. Oh, well, there's no human to human transmission. They used their attack dog, the WHO, to go out there and say that, oh, there's no human to human transmission. Don't restrict travel from China. While at the same time, China was blocking off traffic coming from Wuhan and Hubei to other parts of the country. They were allowing international flights to leave. Okay, you couldn't fly from Wuhan to Shanghai, but you could fly from Wuhan to Italy, which why they had an outbreak over there. And you could fly from Wuhan to the US, which is how we got it. When Trump cut off the travel from China, it was an outcry. Oh, you're racist, you're xenophobe, all this and that and the third, from a lot of people in the US, many of whom I would presume are in the pocket of the Chinese Communist Party, but that's a different story. And for now, I digress. The whole point is that China knew what was going on. They didn't care about us getting it. They were concerned about themselves getting it. That's why they blocked travel in their own country, but not to our country from the epicenter of the virus. That's the first thing. You can't trust China at all. 82,000 cases. Do you really believe that? And 4,000 deaths, really? In that big of a country where it actually happened at? We're seeing videos all over the internet, people dropping dead and, bodies being put 3-4 in the bag. After all of that, 4,000 deaths. Now, I know they had really draconian practices to try and quote unquote slow the spread and flatten the curve, like welding you inside your home. No, I know they did that. However, it does not add up to only 4,000, almost 5,000 deaths in a place that big, in a country that big, where it had the epicenter. Okay. Also, let's talk about the U.S. and our numbers. 677,000 cases. That's pretty high. I mean, no other country has anywhere close to that number, or at least that's what they have reported in other countries. So why do we have so many? Well, there's a financial incentive here. Medicare is determining that if you have a COVID-19 admission in your hospital, you can get up to $13,000 per patient. And if you have somebody on the ventilator, you get $39,000 per patient. So at a certain point, there's an incentive there to over-report and over-diagnose COVID-19 cases. I'm seeing videos online where people are calling the hospital and getting diagnosed with the virus over the phone. How can that be possible? Or they go to a doctor and they don't have any symptoms. They have no fever. They have nothing, but they're given a diagnosis. They're not doing any kind of formal test. The little sinus swab, they're not doing that. They're not doing the blood test or anything. They say, oh, you got the virus. Dr. Burks got on TV and said that you may be coded as COVID-19 if you die, if you have it, even if that's not why you died. You could have died from a heart attack. You could have died from getting shot 35 times. It doesn't matter. If you have the virus in your system, I'm not sure how they're going to determine that because some of these tests have been faulty, a lot of false positives. I think China has sent, might have been Spain and Portugal, some Western European country, a bunch of tests. None of them worked. You're talking about like millions of tests that don't work at all. All right. So how can you really know for sure if someone actually has it when you're not even really properly testing them? And if they do have it, maybe they died from the virus, maybe they didn't, maybe they just died anyway. People die every day. Like death is not going to take a pause right now that we got the virus going on. You could die from other things other than the virus. People are saying that there's been a drop in heart attack, deaths, and whatnot. Yeah, you don't say, because now, rather than being coded as a heart attack or the appropriate thing that a person would die of, they're being labeled as having COVID-19. And out of that 677,000, you have 34,000 deaths. I mean, that's a lot of people, but is it really that many people? You're talking about what, like less than 5%, 4%, probably closer to 1%. All right. Not a whole lot of people at all. And you got 325 million people. So how many is that really? Not a whole lot. I think that the numbers are being cooked. The books are being cooked, and people are getting triggered at those that are saying, let's go ahead and reopen. But what are we going to do? Just sit in our houses forever, wait for the virus to go away, get fed more false information, more misinformation from the mainstream media? The mainstream media will go on television and just believe China's numbers. They just revised up Wuhan's death toll by 50%. How was a margin of error that big, sir? Xi Jinping, I'm talking to you. How was a margin of error that big? 50%? I mean, come on. The numbers that they gave, even with the revision, are still bogus, in my humble opinion. I feel like the numbers are being reported in a certain way, depending upon where you are, to fulfill a particular purpose. In the US, you have high numbers because I think it's a financial incentive. And then there's an incentive to incite fear and panic to take your rights, to infringe upon your rights. Make you stay in the house forever, give you a curfew, get you in the mind state of socialism so you be ready for it when it comes, and say, yes, please be here. Wide open arms, I accept you. That's kind of like what I'm thinking about. In China, they don't want to be seen as incompetent. They don't want to be embarrassed. They want to hide the numbers from the world so they appear to be really strong nationally. That's the reason why they were doing the experiments in the lab to begin with, to seem strong nationally, to see that they could do things that the US could not do and flaunt that to the world. Obviously, they can't do things that we can do. We could keep a virus under control in the lab, unlike China. Okay, Iran, the same thing. They don't want to be seen as weak. They don't want to be seen as vulnerable. So you got political games going on with these numbers. I don't believe any of them. I say let's get back to work, get back to life, and have that be that. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that the numbers that the US are reporting and that China are reporting and that every country are reporting as it relates to the virus are accurate? If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. Or do you think they're inaccurate? Do we need to look at them with magnifying glass to see what's going on, especially China? I mean, do you really believe that? Like 4,000 deaths for real in the entirety of China? Not just in Wuhan, not just in Hubei, but in the entirety of China? What's really going on? And how did it not really affect Shanghai or Beijing? How did that happen? But New York City is getting ravaged with it. What's really going on? Are people really dying of the virus? Is it something else? Are the different strains of the virus? It's talking about one came from Europe, one came from China. What's really going on? I want answers, but whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.